Welcome on my presentation. Today I will talk about feature environments and how they can save you. A bit of a disclaimer. This presentation won't be much technical deep dive. I will basically talk about the motivation and about the what is the feature environment, how to use it, and so on and so no technical deep dive. Sorry for that. Okay. Okay, so my name is Matej Has. I'm working as a DevOps engineer for at least 10 years, and currently I'm working at Labyrinth Labs. And what we do? Well, basically we are trying to help our customers to survive in the hostile world of cloud, when you are overwhelmed with complexity, and we are trying to prevent them from bankrupt because of the cloud bills. So, and how do we do it? Well, basically, we just let the customer to do what they are good at, which is developing their apps, and we are taking the rest of the stuff. So the whole infrastructure, DevOps stuff, CI/CD pipelines. That's what we do. So, environment. So, what is environment? So, you can imagine some application, but the applications likes friends. So it's not enough to basically have only the application in the environment. So you need to, maybe the application needs to persist some data in database, or want to download or upload assets from S3 or to S3. And maybe it needs to communicate with other applications, with a queue or with the API, and so on. So this kind of bundle is called environment. And DTAP, so this is, there are various environments, and each serve a purpose. And we can maybe start with the production one, which is the more important, most stable, scaled, safe. So that's the best what you can offer. And fun fact is that this is the only environment which is bringing money into the environment, into the company, because your customers are basically using the production. So all other environments are only burning money. So on the other end of the development cycle, there is a development environment, which is complete opposite of the production. It's broken, constantly broken, latest version developed, nothing worked there. So it's really wild. Then we have testing environment. Usually we run some kind of tests, hopefully automated tests. And the purpose of this test is to make sure that the application works, that the wiring works as expected, no bugs, and so on. There is also another environment, which is called acceptance or staging on UAT. UAT, which is a user acceptance test. And this might be a bit confusing. It might look more like testing environment, but in this environment we focus more on the business requirements, which must be fulfilled, not about the bugs and so on. So basically, if the software is providing the value to the customer, if it's doing what is expected of what is expected by customers. So of course, this is not the only setup, DTAP. You can omit the testing. It's completely okay to have just development and the acceptance or staging and the production. No problem. You can also omit development. You can have just the one staging and production. And you can, of course, just live with production. So no time to bug fixing, no time for testing. We need to deliver features to production. It might be doable, but this is probably not the approach you would pick. So what is the flow between these environments? So when you deploy the changes to the dev, then maybe after some time, or when it's stable enough, you can promote it to the test, then to acceptance and to production, and whole cycle is repeated. So what's the problem with the environment? Then, well, the sharing by the people. So if multiple people needs to access the same environment, then it might be a problem, because they might do a kind of breaking change. For example, you can change the schema of the database, and then all other applications in the environment are broken, and it's really annoying, a lot of frustration for other people using the environment, and so on. Also, it might happen the long wait. This might happen when, for example, you want to roll the release, for example, to acceptance test or staging, but some sales guys is just doing demo and showing the new features to the customer, and you have to wait. You cannot just continue with the work unless you are unblocked, unless this environment is free. And here comes the feature environments for the rescue, for help. And feature environment, they might have a lot of names. For example, review environment, review lab, PR environment, or review app, which is called in the GitLab, or sandbox, you name it. Name is not so important, but what actually the feature environment is? Well, it's a kind of on-demand environment which is used for a very narrow specific purpose. It lives only for a short time, and it's completely isolated from other environments, or from the permanent environments, also from the other feature environments. And what are the benefits of using feature environments? Well, you can think of it that that it is your own playing ground. You can do whatever you want without blocking anyone. You can try breaking changes, just anything you want to do, and nobody would complain. Nobody would wait. And what are the use cases for the feature environment? Well, the typical use case is that you want to develop a new feature. So in this case, you just deploy the feature environment from dev, and then develop the feature in this environment. And when your work is done, you can just merge it to the dev, and then the release flow goes on. And the feature environment is discarded, and that's basically it. Next way how to use feature environment is for hotfixes. You can imagine a situation when you have some version deployed on the production, but the new release is already rolled to dev and test and acceptance. So, but you need to fix it on the production, right? So you can create the feature environment from production and fix it on the proper version, on the production version, deploy it to the production, and then deploy it back to dev so that you don't revert the changes with the upcoming release. Demo, another example. You can imagine that some salesman is showing the new features to the customers. He or she can deploy feature environment from acceptance, and the acceptance environment is no longer blocked. Anyone can use it. Also, it can be used for experiments. This might be used when you want to do some kind of big refactoring, change a lot of codes, or even like change the components, or for example, type of database, like switch from MySQL to Postgres or whatever. So this kind of big and dangerous changes. You won't interfere with any stable or any permanent environment. But why we should not just use the local development? Well, actually you could, but because the hardware is powerful enough, so you can definitely accumulate all applications there. Isolation is by default, because if you break your notebook, it's your problem, nobody else cares. You can use virtualization like Docker for bringing up the dependency of the application quite easily, so no problem. And also, if your applications use some cloud resources, you can mock them, for example. Not nice, but it would work. And why not to do it locally? Well, this is the phenomena works on my machine. So if something is broken on staging or whatever, then it doesn't matter that it works on your machine. Nobody cares. It should work on the staging or the environment where it is broken. Also, it's hard to, or not every notebook has some specialized hardware. For example, NVIDIA graphics cards. Not quite easy to get that. And also, it's probably better to stick to common infrastructure, so you can have local development based on Docker Compose. But if your staging or production runs on Kubernetes, then there might be unnecessary bug or differences which might cost you some bugs or some issues. Also, the observability is good point, because the feature environment is usually has usually better observability. You need to check. You might check logs of the applications, the metrics, or the performance, which of course can be done also on local development machine, but this is just maybe easier. It's the same with the CI/CD integration. Usually on the permanent environments, you run some tests, so it might be might be easier to run these tests also on feature environment than to somehow plug it to your local development. And also the last one is the jolly cooperation. So you can imagine that that feature environment is accessible by anyone, same as the permanent environment. So if something goes wrong, no problem for other guys, for your colleagues to help you check what's wrong, and which is quite tricky. If you do the local development, you have to send him logs or allow him to SSH into your machine, so might be easier. But you can also use both local development and feature environments. Maybe for some small isolated changes, you can just use local development. Might be easier, faster. And for bigger changes, when you need to change dependencies or multiple applications, it might makes more. It would make more sense to use the feature environment. And feature flags. So well, feature flags goes nicely with the feature environment. So feature flag is a simple toggle which can disable or enable some specific feature in the application. So you can deploy the application to the feature environment, and you can play with the feature flags to disable or enable some feature and check how it works. So there's nice synergy. And what does the feature environment look like? Well, I try to show you. I need to sit. Oh. Okay. Okay, so here I have some sample application, which is some JavaScript codes, JavaScript app. and it basically is hello world. It does nothing relevant. It just outputs some string. And I will now create the merge request, which creates feature environment with the change. And what I want to do in this merge request is that I want to application look more professional, so I will just change the font from whatever to Comic Sans, which definitely helps. This is the identification of the feature environment. It's named with a Jira ticket, and also I'll add a label. Oh, come on, development label, which says that I want to create a feature environment from development feature environment. Now I click create merge request. Merge request is created. Maybe I will just quickly show the change. The only relevant part is here. Like, just use the Comic Sans. Okay, behind the scene there is some pipeline triggered. Yeah, finally triggered. And now I might talk about the deployment of the application. We are using the GitOps approach. So maybe a quick voting or polling or poll. Please raise your hand who knows what the GitOps is. Okay, a few hands up, nice. So this is basically the principle where the source of truth is the Git, and there is a repository called configuration repository, and it contains information about how the application should be deployed. In our case, it means it's some kind of Helm chart with values files, which are used to configure the Helm chart or the Helm release. Okay. Now I can show how it looks in Argo, which is a tool used for GitOps. You can see some permanent environments, and there is a bunch of feature environments. Maybe I'll first show the normal application. Just show the output. So this is the normal output express, and when the feature environment is deployed and after it's up and running, and I would expect that this would become in larger font and in Comic Sans. Meanwhile, I can check the pipeline, what it's doing. Okay, so in the build phase, I just build the application of the image of the application and push it to the some ECR, some content registry. Then I get the version of the application. It might be usually some checksum, and this is stored as artifact. And then the deploy phase is triggered, which consists of a few steps. This one just set the feature environment identification based on the description of the merge request, and then it triggers the pipeline in the downstream repository, which is the configuration repository, and it will do a few steps. At first, it will just prepare the configuration. It will create configuration for the feature environment application in the repository, and it might run some Terraform code to set up some dependencies or whatever. In our case, we just set up few roles and permissions, and then we update the image in the application itself, and then we push these changes to the configuration repo and create to some specific branch, and then we create the merge request from this branch. And I'm running out of time. So maybe I will just show you, if I find it. Okay, so I have some feature environment pre-created, and this would look like when it would be finally deployed somehow. So you can see that the font is bigger and the font is really ugly. So big beautiful font. Yep. That's basically it. And yeah, all from my side. So I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. I don't see any questions in the event, but if anyone has any question from the audience, and if not, thank you, Matej, very much.